can
Yes, I'm so
thank you.
sorry. Does it say recording on your screens?
Yes,
Yes,
it does.
Okay, I am so, jeez, that's
that's
embarrassing.
okay.
Okay,
So, so what I want you to do in your mind, and um, and all of us will do for each other, is think about, is this what I want to represent myself? And have I done the best job at representing this other person? And that's why when I asked Kaya Mosley at the beginning, have you thought more deeply about yourself as an alumni? We're really honoring these people when we talk about their lives, what they've contributed and so forth. So you really want to do the very best you can to make them come off accurately and well, and capture the best and the most noble thing there is about them, and ignoble in in some cases, I'm sure. Okay, so with that, let's go.
okay. And by the way, the table of contents was by the last name of the student, so there was no, that's the only basis on which you appear, the C's down to the S.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is Christian Fleetwood. Um, uh, Tamara just used the name of the person before the article. Some of you used dates, some of you gave it an original title. So think about how you want, whether you like the simplicity of this title, or whether you think you want to do something differently with the title. Okay, we don't have time to read them all.
No, we don't.
We
No.
really don't. Carol, I have a screen here that says this meeting is being recorded. Can you get rid of that, or do I have to do something? Oh, I got it. I got it. It's
You
okay.
got it, okay.
Okay, so she has her work cited here,
Okay.
and that's nice. Okay. Then we have her second entry, which probably will not need the date, but it will be under her name, and then Soraya Crowley. Okay. Mhm.
I'm just trying, you want me to go quickly through each one, I guess?
I'll tell you when to stop. Now,
Okay.
let's stop here, and what we see here is a works cited page that is limited to the interview. And what I want to suggest to all of us is that the interview must be complemented by data which supports all that's being said, that complements it, that enriches it. So I think a little bit could be done here with the works cited.
Okay. No, I don't know how that got on this. Okay.
Now we have Thelma Hill, and see, now that's interesting, isn't it? See how the date is different? She's put the year that she graduated. So I think that's a nice addition.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to put the year, you probably should put the century too, since we.
Right.
It just
2
occurred
centuries,
to me.
right. Yeah,
Because like Christian Fleetwood was the previous century,
right.
and there might be some from this century. I don't know.
Yeah. Probably just write it out, class of, 1871 or 1971.
And by the way, nobody in this group has found the error in the other, in Treasure to Treasure. So we're still waiting for you to find the factual error. But I want you to know that that publication underwent many, many, many readings. So you cannot be too careful. Now, I would like to suggest, stop, please. Everybody's supposed to know that the Lincolnian should be italicized. So we want to catch things like that. Okay.
Mhm. Mia, by the way, is taking an exam. She says it's 2 hours.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I don't think these citations are probably, the footnotes are not, we have to brush up on our citation.
Right, right,
Mhm,
right.
mhm.
Here she did not put the year.
Yeah, and you'll notice that some people have put works cited, and that one that we just saw said bibliography. So
Mhm.
we'll have to think about that. Mhm. Some nice information in this one.
Mhm.
Oh, a visual.
Mhm.
Nice. Nice.
I think she exceeded the page limit.
It's okay. Now, what happened to the works cited? Did they come together?
Yeah, what happened to it?
Kaya?
Yeah. Oh, we're going to do Kaya? Okay, sorry.
Oh, no, who did the last one?
That was Mia, her
Oh,
second one.
Mia, she's not here. Okay, we'll have to check up with that. Yeah, I think we need the date of graduation at least. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, in the case of Gil Scott Heron, he didn't graduate, but he would have been the class of whatever.
Right, I put him, Dr. Farrell always used the term ex-rel class of, since he
There
came in,
you go.
because he came in 67, I made it
Right.
71.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And this one looks like it has some nice quotes too.
Mhm.
Interesting. Mhm. Mm. Mm-mm.
Oh, you know what? I got that Pepsi, but I do like salsa and I do it at home.
Do you want me to
Did
make
it
one?
go
I'm
on
gonna
mute?
have that first.
Go
Let me
on
finish
mute,
this.
Iowa.
Look, look, look.
Audua, go on mute.
I did it.
It's muted.
I took care.
Okay.
Mhm.
Kaya, did you address why he left Lincoln? I don't think I read that, but I didn't read it carefully.
I'm not sure if I explicitly stated it.
Okay.
I'd have to double check.
This was a really interesting one to read, Kaya.
Mhm.
Particularly when you quote him as saying Lincoln is dying. That may be the answer to your question, Carol.
Mhm.
Got kind of disgusted or something.
Right. Nice bibliography.
Very nice. Very nice. It is a very nice piece of work.
And her second one?
Second one, yes. And he's another, did he graduate actually?
Yes.
Okay, so he actually. Mhm. I was doing a little research and I'll stop here for a minute. Most people put the period inside the quote, and there's a big difference between the British and the Americans. And
Yeah.
so that's an
I
editor.
always do it inside the quote.
I do too. Mhm.
Yeah.
You need to stop hollering, okay? What did I tell you about that?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to mute you, Kathy.
This is a fairly long one.
I like the chronology too. I think you addressed all of the outline that Dr. Johnson provided.
Is there somewhere where we could would want to identify the mentor with the student?
Oh, we could do that. Yeah.
We could do that somewhere or
Yeah.
preface or
I'm
something.
making a note, identify mentor. Okay.
Well, could I ask Kaya a question here? Kaya, where is the Pennsylvania Center for the Book? Where is that? Is that a place or a?
Is that the first citation?
Yeah, uh-huh.
I think it was a library database that I had used. I can go back and double check and email that to you.
No, I'm curious because this Center for the Book, that movement is a fairly, I want to say within the past 30, 40 years of
Mhm.
a unique movement. So I'm interested in that. Great.
Is that a link under pabook.libraries?
Yes, it is. It's just not hyperlinked.
Okay. Yeah. Didn't have the www dot. Yeah. Okay. That's another thing. Got to always check your citations, make sure they work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And now to Deja.
Deja, I took the liberty of throwing in a creative title here. It doesn't need to, it wasn't hers, so I'll take responsibility for that, but we were chatting a bit about titles, so that's just an alternative possibility, and I'm not sure it's the right one.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when you cite a Supreme Court case, you try to find the Supreme Court, citation for it.
Hmm,
I mean, it's kind of popular, so most people would know, but just in case.
hmm.
Yeah. And the chronology is good.
Yes.
Start at the beginning and bring her up to date.
Mhm. Deja worked at creating natural breaks in her essay. It was needed paragraph structure, so she worked at dividing it up into paragraphs. I
Good.
think pretty good job.
Just makes it easier on the eye to read as well.
Mhm.
These are to be edited more.
Yes.
I think so. I think that's what we're hoping the students will see some of these errors. For instance, I see Lewis Stokes. Stokes is not capitalized.
Congressman Stokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can take the time to go through one or more of these carefully. I thought first you'd like to see.
And there's that should be brought together. I think that's one sentence. Yeah. People thought she would probably not supposed to be a paragraph there.
Mhm. There's a lot of information here. Now, what we're going to recommend to you, Deja, is that you frame this essay. But you see, what you've done is you've paraphrased it. And the distinction between interview and research is not clear. So for example, I don't know, I have to go back and look at it, but I don't know that you included a lot of direct quotes from your interview, did you? Deja?
I did.
You did.
I did.
All right. So okay. Well, we'll look at that later.
Yeah, I maybe Dr. Buttons was saying when you do quotes, you should really indent them, center them in the paper so we can see that that is a quote, that she's speaking and not you. Otherwise, we're feeling all of this is you.
I think what I want to say about this is that because you put it, you did a lot of, you wrote a narration, you described her whole life, and you did a nice job. I mean, that was a lot of work. You could tell it was a lot of work. But we don't know where you got that information, you see. We don't know.
It's right there, though. It's at the
No.
works cited.
Yeah, but you see, but you put it in your own words.
In your own words, right?
If
No,
it's
this is actually what she said.
right, but you haven't presented it that way. You presented it in your narrative. You have done the work to transform it into a narrative. Now you have done quotes throughout it, laced throughout it. But if you'll see when we get to Abigail's, for example, she has simply done her question, Dr. Welburn's answer, her question, Dr. Welburn's answer. And that is almost replicating the interview itself. And so she's going to frame it with a narrative, like I interviewed him on thus and so date, and he's been accomplished these various things. She's going to frame it with a narrative that explains the situation and highlights the major achievements, and then just repeats the interview. But you haven't done that. You've done a different approach. And there's nothing wrong with your approach. It just that it asks for where did she get this information? And so I'm looking, well, did she get it in a book or did this come from the interview? Do you see what I'm saying? It's not clear where all that stuff comes from. And that's why we're saying research backs up an interview. So it's got to be clear. These are two completely different genres.
How is it not clear when the work cited is at the end?
It's not clear because it's not at this, we're not sure where this information is coming from. It's not common information. And so it's not like everybody or most people would know it just from being present and alive. And so if there's specific sources, that is either you acquired the information because you observed her over her lifetime, or because you, as you have here, interviewed her, then that needs to be clear as to where the source, where the how the information was gathered, and why are you, and what allows someone to have confidence in your presentation of that information. Is very basic documentation of information that's not common is required in scholarly works.
I
I
know,
just
but that's why I
say,
put the work cited at the end though, so
No,
that
the works
it could
cited,
be
you can have,
clear
you could, no,
that
it's not clear.
I got the
No,
information
I'm
through
sorry,
the phone
please,
interview.
please listen up. If you're going to go into anything in life, professional life, graduate school, professional school, whatever, you need to make this, be clear about this. Attribution is significant and important. It has cost many people their careers. You can have 100 works cited and doesn't tell us where a particular reference in the paper comes from. It simply says that these are the works that were consulted or considered. It doesn't tell us the source of particular pieces of information. In the case that you only have one work site, it appears here, that doesn't excuse the fact that the information could have come in other ways other than from this interview. So it is incumbent upon every author to be clear about the source and give proper attribution to that information. No,
I want to come to Deja's defense. If the only source was the interview, then I mean, I'm sort of with her on this. Now, if on the other hand, she did get it from other sources too, then they should be in the works cited. But if her only source was the interview, then what else could she do?
Hello, Bill Wiggins here. I'm listening carefully, and we do know that direct quotes should be identified clearly. If they're not cited in terms of indentation, as Sister Black was mentioning, that's one way of doing it. Otherwise, you put the quotation marks around it. If there's an error there, of course, you put sick. That's the way it was. You bracket it and put SIC in it. But I agree. I was going to indicate that this represents the information there, an interview. That's a primary source. I don't know how more primary you can get. However, Sister Outerbridge plans to look at other documents to further support and buttress her paper, just as Abigail would need to do as well, because hers, I know it's clearly a question asked, answer given. But an attribution, as we all know, is extremely important. But it is clear that that's where she got it from. I wouldn't say works cited. You don't indicate it's a work cited because it's not something that Sister Roan had actually written. But we can discuss that further because otherwise one gets the impression that what was given to her by Sister Adrienne Roan was not enough. So that's what I'm getting at. But we can talk about that later since we have other things to discuss.
But I do know too that Adrienne Roan provided other sources. She
Yes, she did.
provided news clippings. She provided Lincolnian articles, all of which are important to help tell her story.
Yes. And I spoke with Sister Outerbridge about that, and she knows that I shared some things with her last evening. And I don't know how much time is remaining, but especially the minutes of the trustees, Board of Trustees meetings. Sister Black, where are they? I mean, we know that the repository is somewhere. Where are the minutes for the Board of Trustees?
That's why I sent her to Diane Brown in the president's office, who maintains those files.
Okay. Did you get a response, Sister Outerbridge? Did you check with Sister
No,
Brown?
I didn't get a response.
Did you contact her?
Yes.
Okay, well, I would say, further buttressing the whole issue of the Barnes Foundation. There will be some information there that you can include in your information that does say a bit about the Barnes Foundation issue when she was the chair from 1999, to 2001. I believe that was her period of chairpersonship. So again, we can word it differently, but again, in the body of the paper, you have to definitely cite that this is an exact statement by her, even if it has errors, and you put
Yes.
sick in there. We go from there. Okay.
I would like to suggest that, and I'm saying this not only to Deja, but to everyone included, that you could solve you could put to use everything that we're saying by introducing your paper as a biographical essay that was based on an interview along with other documents. I mean, you could tell us what you've done and then proceed to use a lot of your material supplemented with references to these other sources. Because you don't want to trash everything you've done. You've reworded what she's told you. But there's an awful lot in there that I suspect has been, common knowledge. So you probably got it elsewhere. I don't know. And more power to you. But you need to credit those other sources.
I got it all from her though. That's what I said, what I said as far as the work cited and all that, because I got all the information from her. And I recall saying in a class one time when I was presenting it that I got all the information from her. And when I formulated everything to be the paper that it came out to 6 pages, which was why I didn't go any further as far as research. And I recall that y'all said, yeah, I could see why you did that.
Well, that was regrettable because it shouldn't have been the only source. This is a research paper, and you really were charged with first going to special collections, any other place in the library, in addition to if the person was live to an interview.
May I add the following? Anamnesis, which is remembering the past and events. Individuals sometimes forget, or they embellish, or they misrepresent. So it's important then to see if you can find some sources that parallel what has been said or supports what has been said, so you don't take everything from the person's mouth, so to speak. So that's what we're talking about too, Sister Outerbridge. That's why I want you to look at some of those other things, because it will support and document, because I can make up anything. And many historians, many non-historians, many chroniclers, many journalists, and make up a bunch of stuff there. And then you say, well, where's the source that supports this? So add some documentation that buttresses it. You understand what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but would you say that she would make up something about her life? Because it's her life story at that point.
Right, but she
So
may
it's
not be
like how
telling,
she would want it to be told.
Right, but she may not be telling it as it was, and you need to support what she says. Because remember, there are a lot of people there who say some things that just aren't so. Let's take McCarthy and the rest of those fools, and that's what they are, those idiots in our United States government, how they switch up right and left. And then you have to go back as a journalist or anyone else and say, okay, here's what was actually said. You follow? That's what we're dealing with. I'm not saying I don't believe Sister Roan, but anamnesis, remembering things, is not that simple, because sometimes people come off a whole lot different than they actually were. And you need to get the goods, if you will. So, I mean, it's not that you have a whole lot to do. Just buttress what you have received from her in the interview. That's all. And it's clear that Sister Abigail needs to do the same thing to support the establishment, for instance, of the quote Native American, I wouldn't call it that, but that's just me, studies program at UMass and the like. And if you have all of that, you're not just simply taking someone's word for it, in that this is a research paper / biographical statement, which has to be supported by documentation. I'm going on too long, but Can't impress that enough. So a few more things in there and you'll be in very good stead.
Okay.
And you're doing us a big favor by asking why should you be doing this? As I said, many people's careers and professions have been derailed for lack of proper documentation, attribution, and the like. And just to follow Professor Wiggins' point, is sometimes when people are reading these materials and they want to get more information, they will go to the references within the paper or at the end of the paper to find leads. And so not only does it help to confirm what's being stated, but it also gives people an opportunity to build upon that by doing further research or being directed in other areas or in other directions that they may not have had in the absence of those references. So these things play a very important role, and that's why they're being stressed here.
Okay. All right, so this is Kaya now. I just happened to look at that second sentence. I hadn't looked at it before, but you say Jenkins, Ezekwe, and Thurgood Marshall is a prime example. What should that say?
Or
Are prime examples, yeah. And I know it's late at night and you're trying to get something done. It's hard to be as picayune, which is why it's good to go to bed, wake up refreshed, and look at it again with fresh eyes. And sometimes you see those things.
Now, are these bio sketches? Let's see how long this was.
Let's see how long it is. This is what I found. It may not be the right one.
No, these are bio sketches. Those were bio sketches.
Right.
These are bio sketches. Oh, so we need is there an essay to follow this?
Wait a minute.
what was the last one underneath?
Okay, this
There's
is, it does say
Jenkins.
February 4th, so that's real early.
Yeah, that was a bio sketch.
Those are bio sketches.
And then this one, this is on Fontaine. This is March 25th.
Yes. I sent a revision to Dr. Button. So if we are re-editing it, I have a revision.
Okay, just email it to me and I'll take this one out and so.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what about the first one though? Did you do a bio? I mean, an essay on, who's this? Greg Jenkins?
That one's all on Greg Jenkins, I believe. No, that's all the bio sketches. The other one was supposed to be Sheila Oliver, but we could never get in contact with her.
Okay. So it will have to be.
And due to her position, she's like, her information is discreet, so I couldn't really find much.
Okay. So Gregory Jenkins would become your essay number one?
I believe this essay has 3 people in it.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's Ezekwe and.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So both of these have to be substituted, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So keep going.
I had a question. When we did the MLA format and we put our professors on there, are we putting all 3 and the 2 and the mentor, or just, are we not doing that?
I mean, it's not MLA, that's just a courtesy, so you can you can put them all together. You could put a comma after Murph and say mentor, so we know who it is. That would be a lovely thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's MLA isn't too worried about that. That's called a header.
Mm-hmm.
A format that is usually suggested to you by your professor. As a matter of fact, if you were doing it for a class, not for this, you'd probably say special topics there. But it's nice. I think it's really nice to put all 3 names because all 3 people have worked with you on that. So that's lovely. And we'd like titles. Okay, but so you would have probably put a bio sketches there. So so it's clear what you were doing.
Mm-hmm. And I had to send the cited work page.
Yes.
It wasn't attached to the document.
Kai, didn't you say you did an interview connected with Fontaine?
Yes, with Kulik, and I read his book.
Yeah, that, okay, let's go to her essay, Carol. If
This
you-
is
Oh,
the
that's it?
Fontaine.
Fontaine essay. I'm looking for her site.
We don't have a bio.
I didn't see any citations.
I'll have to send it with my cited pages. Oh
Okay.
my,
So do you quote directly from that interview?
from the interview and the book. So I infused both.
Okay.
All right, let's go to.
I also took a Lincolnian document. I have to add that as well.
All right, so Abigail's next. Now Abigail's, this is, okay, this is her preface. So she does a preface, which she's revising. And the preface describes the context, and some of the main points that she's going to highlight that were highlighted in her essay. And I have recommended to her that she also write a conclusion after the interview itself.
She does say, I like this. I ask questions pertaining to his Native American roots, how he discovered himself, what do you want to do in life, some of the challenges. So that gives the reader an appetite, like, oh, what did he say?
It's very nice. It's very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. So, because the idea is this is a journey. We're all taking a journey, an intellectual journey with someone, and she just describes it. Now, yeah, so she gives a little bit about the background and the highlights of his career, and then she goes into the interview.
Mm-hmm. Now, she could be more succinct. I think that's a problem a lot of us have, that, you really can sometimes put 3 pages really into 1 or 2 paragraphs.
Yes.
And that's artistic, and to the degree in which you can do it, it's powerful reading.
Yes, she knows that.
Yeah.
As I always say, a utility of words. Don't use words that you don't need to use for an expression.
Yes.
Mhm.
Use wonderful words. Mm-hmm.
So when we finally used this essay in something, and I thought it was really so well written, it would be nice in the alumni magazine, but the introduction would be integrated, be all one document.
Right.
And so it's her work. And Deja, I hope you can pick up some tips here. It's all her work, but it's clearly clear what is her work and what is his work.
Mm-hmm.
And yours is all your work, and therefore not quite right. You just need some more thought in terms of documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So that's all his work.
Second question, details about your early education.
Yeah, her questions were good.
Good questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of you, we asked you to provide us the questions before the interview, but you did not. We really could have helped you more. Field of study.
Wow. A lot of name dropping here is lovely.
Mm-hmm. But alumni will love reading it because
Absolutely.
we know these people. That's great.
But I just want to make a quick, what I think is a factual correction. And that is, it refers to, and maybe this is, maybe Ron Welburn said this himself. It says that he was born in Bryn Mawr College Hospital. I'm sure it was Bryn Mawr Hospital and that it had nothing to do with the college.
Oh, yeah, right.
There is no Bryn Mawr College Hospital.
Right.
The college is named after the town of Bryn Mawr, and there is a very famous Bryn Mawr Hospital. So I just, I saw that as it was scrolling past.
Yeah. Believe it or not, somebody from Bryn Mawr will be reading it going, no, that's wrong. How was jazz introduced? Great question. And look at his detail. Jeez.
Lots of detail.
Lots of detail.
You know, Deja, you might want to go back and listen to your interview. Did you put it on tape, Deja?
No, I didn't because it was so last minute. It was like 30 minutes before. Sister Carol called me saying that I had an interview with Adrian Rome in
Okay,
like 10 minutes, and she sent her questions
okay,
that I could ask her. So at that point,
okay.
it's like,
All right, just trying to get a sense of it. Did you then, you took notes, right? So you took notes in the conversation?
yeah.
Okay, all right. That helps. That helps us to understand what you're working with. Nice.
Okay,
Yes.
now the Taylor.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm curious to see if she actually did get that book out of the library, his autobiography. So I'm gonna let me skip to the end, see if it's there.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Wow.
A lot of stuff. No, but it's not there. Okay. It's all right. She's got a lot of work cited, so that's good. That's good. But I noticed, I mean, I always footnote, to the source, but I don't see any footnotes here. So I don't know what does the sources mean if it's not referring to something that's been written.
Oh, she has it in parentheses, I think.
She does?
Or wait, I saw Cobb in parentheses. I'm not sure. Maybe I was just.
Okay, Bond.
No, she did put things in parentheses
Right,
when looking
that's
at her
it.
work. She has quite a
Right.
few cited. But if you wanted her to cite it differently,
Yeah, I
I
see.
suggested that she would share that with you, and you could show her the footnote version, Carol or Dr. Button or Susan, so she can number
Yeah,
and put it in
okay.
the footnote style. That would be
Wait,
good.
MLA is in parentheses, isn't it, or not? I don't know. I'm not.
It is.
Yes.
MLA, I thought they were doing the MLA style. You got to have consistency. If
Right.
you're going to do Chicago style or Kate Arabian, then you have footnotes. All right.
But MLA is parentheses, isn't it? Or
That
am
is
I
correct.
wrong?
And
Oh,
that's
it's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what we have.
I
So-
stand corrected. All
so
So
right.
this is accepted. This is acceptable, you're saying.
Of course, yes, because when you
Great,
get to
that's
when
all
you
that
get to the
matters.
cited sources at the end, you can refer back and you'll know exactly what it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
I don't love the MLA style because I'm a stodgy old historian.
Right.
I like a
So
bunch
am
of
I.
footnotes. Yeah, but MLA style is what Professor Button said. So here we
Yeah,
are.
and it's also easier to do when you're writing than to create
is
the
easier.
footnotes. But I
So
will say
this
that.
reference to Cobb, she doesn't need a page?
She should have a page,
Okay, all right.
I think, unless what is Cobb? I
do
guess we
not
go to the
know.
works cited and see what
Let's
that
see what
is.
Cobb is. Okay, Cobb, the journal. Okay,
Yeah, there should be a page number cited.
okay. Okay. Well done.
I was following the format for what we did in the other one.
Mhm.
Mr. Wiggins, you're absolutely right. Either way, this could either be history or it could be literature. I guess it's more history than it is literature, but anyway, we can, the editorial staff will review the matter.
Yeah, we'll deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. And I like the picture she put of him. Okay. And then on Mary Styles Harris. I really like her topic sentence.
Yes.
Dedication, ongoing efforts in the sciences is noteworthy. So you want to follow that with, okay, what were her
Right.
efforts in science that are so noteworthy? Okay. Oh, nice picture of her. Wonderful.
Do we want the pictures at the beginning or if possible?
I think it should be at the beginning.
Okay.
What's active paper archive? What is that?
If you Google active paper archive, you get that.
Okay. I never heard, well, a lot of things I haven't heard of, but
Yeah, well, we'll go over everything.
yeah.
Citation.
Mm-hmm. And look at that. She made History Makers in 2012. She's a young woman.
Yeah.
Great.
Mhm,
And I think that's it. Yep, that's it.
mhm, mhm,
Okay.
mhm. Have we talked enough about the students, what they've learned from doing this process, and if they were to do more, what they would do more? I don't, have we?
I think it wasn't recorded, so if they could do it again, it would be great.
Mhm. So Kaya, would you start this, please? What have you learned from this process of researching researching, writing about the life of a Lincoln alum? And question number two, if you were to do more on your paper, what would you do? What have you learned from the process, and what would you do next to make it even better?
Which Kaya?
Oh, my punter. I was talking about punter because she's my student, actually.
Okay, I assumed. Okay, what I've learned from the whole process, one, the past that Lincoln has, considering all the notable people who have came, and also not, and this is not just for the research, who your mentor is also makes a difference as well. And like, I guess it's matched in energy. So in learning the Lincoln's past, you learn one about yourself as well. So that's my standpoint of it. As for changing around, I do feel like in order to speak about our alumni and stuff, it would be way better as like to get an interview, because you get to get more of an emotional standpoint on your paper so that you can grab your readers' attention. Now, I personally didn't get to fully do what I wanted to do on my paper, but I do feel as if the interview does make a different connection when it comes to writing.
Now you just said something very important. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. Do you mean in terms of research itself?
In terms of research and fully going like saying like talking of the person's life, because so much years to cram in such words, and it's just like you want to represent the individual as they should be, but you can't because not enough words. You know what I mean?
Do you think that if you did more what you wanted to do, I don't understand what you want to do. That's what I'm trying to put my finger on.
I'm just saying, like, there's just more I wish I could have added in the style, you know, grammatically, but I've corrected stuff like that. More technical.
There's more you want
But
to say about your subject?
what was time? The
Yeah,
time of time, I think.
because to worry about two alumni, even though it is great to notice who we are, I feel like we should focus our time on one personally.
Mm.
Like instead of scrapping change of information for individual, we just, you know, create the whole checkered whole dollar buck on one.
Mm.
So it's just me.
Would you call yourself a better researcher as a result of this process? Have you learned about research?
I've learned more than I've known in the past, but I do feel I could have picked up more. That is just me personally. I do believe this course does make one more of a better researcher, because now you're trying to like dig into someone's life, you know. So
Okay, good. Thank you, Kaya.
To follow up, you said the mentor makes a difference. Can you expand on that?
well, I know my mentor, Professor Murph. Instead of trying to push the assignment for the due date, it's more so pushing the quality of the assignment. Because it was just like, if we're going to do something, let's finish it big instead of giving half and half on each other. I just, and who it is on a more, I don't know how to explain it.
You're doing fine. You're doing good.
The connections matter.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, we had a good relationship. And we talked a lot about Lincoln, and she told me a lot about Lincoln now. And the interview was good. I think it's important to establish a good relationship with the student, and it helps them to bring out, I guess, what she said, that emotional part, along with the writing part. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with her. I really did. Oh, and one of the things she said that was interesting, and which my thing was on mute, I wanted to say this. When we interviewed the guy who wrote Fontaine, and I have colleagues in philosophy who, I have a colleague, I think he teaches at Purdue. He talked about this guy who wrote the book. He's white, of course. And in one of the statements he makes in the book, Fontaine had a rabble name called Kingfish. And as he described it as a radio personality a kingfish who was an unintelligible character. I told her to take that out of the biography, because at Lincoln, they probably meant Kingfish was a talkative person, not unintelligible. So these are, and it also made her aware, as she talked about a white person doing a perspective on a Black person. It's interesting, and we went straight to the source, and that's one of the things that I got out of it also, as well as her. So that was very enlightening for the both of us.
Mm.
Interesting.
Well, I have known Kaya,
Asha, hi.
and I think Kaya is a person of great potential. And I think it's really enriched you as a student, Kaya. I'm so happy you participated.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, one thing that occurs to me that could have been a teachable moment for everyone, and also one of memory, thinking of the Amos and Andy's show. You could put it in an asterisk or something, so you don't mess up the body of the
I have it in there.
and say, not to be confused with Amos and Andy, the Kingfish and Sapphire and all them crazy people, because to keep it in front of people is important at times, because you need to see where one came from and how the stereotypes are, but it had nothing, as we know, to do with that character at all. So I don't know what Professor Murph thought about that, and so you said you put it in there, Sister Punter?
That, yes, from the TV show, but I do have to further explain not to get confused with the unintelligible character.
Right.
Okay, you did. Okay, thank you.
But what's funny, those of us who were at Lincoln, when they had how we give people rabble names. I mean, I can imagine back then they called them the Kingfish. I can imagine what that was like. So, but you have to have that Lincoln experience to appreciate the humor.
Mhm.
So, Sister Carol, will we have a separate article on the issue of rabble and rabble names? Because now we're talking cross-referencing here.
I know. Well, of course, we have the David Clawson thesis.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not so sure, we don't have anybody specifically writing about the rabble. It would be nice. I really wanted Oliver Franklin to do it. It's just, he's pressed for time.
Mhm,
He would be perfect.
mhm.
No, David Clawson would be perfect.
Well, yeah.
Dave Clawson,
Dave-
surely.
Yeah. And I didn't ask him because,
Didn't he write,
yeah, he did. He wrote the thesis.
well, in the John Johannes, one of the John Johannes books, wasn't there something by Clawson in
I
there
believe,
about the
yes.
rabble, or am I?
Yes, it is there. So that was one of the considerations too. Do we incorporate other writings? Or is that redundant? So we don't want that to happen either. So from a
Yeah.
fresh perspective, actually from a younger student, it would be interesting.
I think for a younger student, if this were to be used in the freshman class, I think you have to say something about.
Yeah.
Maybe a more comprehensive article that included a section on the rabble, or
Mhm.
we'll see. Think about it.
Of course, younger students don't know what rabble is. So
Right.
that begs to have
Right.
an older person do it.
Right, right.
But I think the younger person could present it in a better way to the younger students.
It's a great idea. Next thing you know, we'll have a whole new generation of rabble names.
Right.
That'd be fun.
I don't know if you want to go back to that. I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of it we want, some of it.
That was,
Definitely not PC.
and right, definitely not PC. Godzilla, food fair,
Yeah,
no, I
no,
don't think.
But the debate aspect of it, it's good.
But what's interesting is the times, in history. If you locate the time in history of how we've grown as the Black community has changed,
Mhm.
that's what's interesting about it.
Yes, it is.
Historical.
Okay.
All
You know,
right.
but I do have to say, outside of the Lincoln University, we still have rabble names for many of our brothers and sisters.
Well, that's
I can think of a number of them out there that we have rabble names for, and it's part of the culture. Part of the culture.
right. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not going to call any names of individuals and so on, but I mean, there's one person I dearly love, and that's the captain. Everybody knows the captain, you see, and the captain knows who I'm talking about. Captain, you listening? Or is she ignoring me? She must have stepped away. I'm talking about Kathy Reardon.
Mhm.
Oh,
Because,
I thought you
because she's
were talking about somebody else. That's
no, she's captain.
I'll reach out to
From the
her.
military?
Yeah,
Yes.
military.
she's-
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
From the military.
So I'll say, hey, Cap, and people will wonder what you're talking about, you know. So, but there are others though that are not so professional and endearing. I got a buddy. We ran together, and he chaired the art department at Spelman, and he's doing a big project now in Panama. The lady, as I told you before, the young lady who did the portrait of Michelle Obama was one of his students, right?
wow.
His nickname is Pepe, and from Pepe Le Pew, because because when we ran track in New York up and down Atlanta Parkway, and it'd be raining, and he had a kind of a black outfit on, but somehow a white stripe ended up his back right in the middle, and his sweatsuit was always funky. So I called him Pepe Le Pew. So it stuck. And me, old as I am, I'm Rabbit. So, or Rab. So what's that all about?
Must have
Running
been
hurdles.
fast. Okay.
No, and yeah, and rabbits have more fun. No, but running over hurdles. So I was Rab or Rabbit. I still am. That's how they refer to me. Say, hey, Rab, what's going on? People look at me and say, so it still sticks is what I'm saying. I don't want to go on and on, but I think the rabble is good as long as people understand the context. And it's good to be part of a rabble. I'm proud of Rabbit. I'm proud of Rab. I'll leave it alone. All right.
Okay.
Well, let's hear from the other Kaya. Ms. Mosley.
The other Kaya.
What were the two questions again? I'm sorry.
What have you learned about the research process, and what would you do if you were to even enhance, although it's hard to imagine how you can, enhance, improve, or enrich your work? Would you do anything?
So as far as like the whole research process goes, because I'm like, I've done research before having been like a college student. So I would definitely say I definitely strengthen my skills as far as like looking for sources, because this is a like uncharted territory in a certain way. So definitely in like reinventing what we already know to help us better, find what we need and accurately do the assignment. So I would say as far as that, that's how my research has been affected by this whole process. And if there was anything differently that I could do, it would probably, honestly, I would say like my number one thing is having more time because I'm a senior. This semester has been absolutely crazy for me, like so crazy. I was working full time, doing school full time. It was just really busy. So I would definitely say having more time because, you know, especially with my first essay, like I said, in another class, I think 2 classes ago, there's a lot on Gil Scott. There's so much on him. So it was like one of the problems that I faced was finding out what was most important and how to make it as concise as possible. So I definitely think like having more time to like fully focus, because I feel like this is something that you want to give a lot of time to, because you want to make sure that you're telling the story in the best possible way that you can, because it's important. So I would definitely say time.
Right, right.
So you brought up a really interesting point, and that is we have really we have invited you to get anecdotal material and a lot of detail, and yet we did limit the length of these entries. And so you raise a really interesting point as to what does it mean in this context to do the person justice. Because I've written a dictionary entries, and you can't capture the full flavor of the person in a dictionary entry. So we really, so I guess it's a judgment call as to what is enough.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
enough? Were there things that you learned about him that you thought you should have added but didn't because of the length we've determined?
I would say like the bulk of his personal and professional career, because our biggest thing was, you know, highlighting those big achievements, you know, how has he contributed to Lincoln? You know, what did he do post Lincoln? So there's a lot that he did. So like picking what was most important, like what I felt was most important. But then again, I'm like, who am I to say like that doesn't belong in here? So that was like kind of the difficult part.
That is difficult. That's
I
very
understand.
difficult.
Yeah, I understand the time constraint, but you know, there's somebody we should have recommended you interview who knew Gil probably better than anybody else, and that's Brian Jackson. And Brian is very accessible, and he would have given you an incredible perspective on Gil.
I know Dr. Button tried to, I think, you sent an email earlier, like mid-semester, but we never heard anything back.
Okay.
Well, you know what we can do.
Well, the other person is Carl Cornwell.
Yeah, it's true.
He's calm, but.
Am I on mute? Carl Cornwell. I mean, he toured with him. He, you know, like toured with him for years. I mean, I don't know, he would have been another possibility. But I wonder, you know, would you say that just doing one person might be preferable to doing two for some of the reasons that you cited, that you could spend more time and go into more depth with the one person and have more time for, you know, doing the revisions? Because that kind of grabbed onto me. I kind of thought that sounds like a good idea to me personally.
I mean, that can work. And I don't know if this course next year can like run from both semesters, fall and spring. I don't know if that's an option as well, if you guys wanted to make the course that way, but I feel like both are good options.
You know, the other thing we have to take into account, this is done under COVID.
Yeah.
So students weren't on campus. Students were in different living arrangements. And as Kaya mentioned and other people mentioned, and I know other students were faced with work. I mean, you know, more opportunities to work, schedules of all types that had to be navigated and addressed and the like. So, you know, ideal situation that if they were full-time students without the family, medical, and financial issues, would they've had enough time to really do justice to the two essays or to the two personalities or subjects that they were given, and that's been a different story as opposed to what we have now. Now going forward, it may be that students will, if they're all on campus or commuting, will still have the same issues of work, family, and other outside responsibilities or attractions or distractions or what have you. So I think the students can help us to answer that question. But I mean, it appears that it was manageable under under certain conditions. But again, because of the different individual situations, unusual situations that imposed these individual oddities on people's normal schedules, then we get this, press for time. So I think those are factors as well.
To backtrack for a second, if I may, very quickly, when Sister Outerbridge had wanted to write on Brother Gil Scott Heron, but she didn't get that as her choice, I pointed out that Dr. Howard King, Sister Black knows about him. He knew a side of Gil Scott Heron, I think, from the instructor side to the student side. So that's another perspective that you would get. And he was prepared and still is prepared to say something about his encounters with Brother Gil Scott Heron. Just wanted to add that because I mentioned it before, though.
Yeah, so I would like to say, Kaya, this is your essay. It will be your published essay. And I'd like to ask you whether it interests you enough to do these interviews and to integrate this wonderful material into what you already have. I mean, they're suggesting it could have been, but there's no reason you can't people work on essays for a long time. You've done the bulk of the work, a fabulous job here in the class, but it doesn't mean it has to be the final product. That's what I want to ask each one of you, actually. What do you think about that, Kaya?
I'm open to it. I'm open to it. Definitely.
So we'll keep that in mind, and that goes for every single one of you. And we'll make sure to communicate this with others. But I'd like to see you. Brian Jackson was on campus before COVID. I don't know.
Yeah, I met him. It was awesome.
See, you have an open door. You just have a wide open door. You just walk right through that door. Call him up. Say, I saw you on campus. I'm writing this article. Will you read it and tell me if you want to add anything to it? And you have some marvelous, marvelous quotes. I think that. What do you think, mentors? Do you agree with that perspective? Does that sound like a good approach for Kaya?
Definitely.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
would say, and even if you can't have a long interview, sometimes you can send them an email and say, give me a couple or two reflections, some encounter you had with
Yeah, good approach, good approach.
yeah, that way they can get back to you. You don't have to be on the phone or Zoom or whatever, and it gives them time to think about it, and hopefully they won't be as long-winded either.
All of our mentees are bringing something special to these essays, especially for the Lincoln family, and that is the focus on the alum as alum. In other words, their experiences while students at Lincoln, their knowledge of Lincoln prior to coming there, their contributions after Lincoln, and the like. So that's unique. I mean, there's a lot of information out there for some of our alumni, but there's not that necessarily that directed or targeted focus that we have with these students. And then there's the other thing in Kaya's case. We talked a little bit about this, but I think Kaya, you mentioned that Gil Scott's mother was from, or his father was from Jamaica.
Yeah, his father.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you resonated with that because one of your parents, your mother, is from Jamaica. And so one question I had was Gil Scott influenced by reggae, calypso, or any of the music of that region, given his background and the era that he was in? I mean, that's a whole nother dimension that's, in addition to all the other possibilities and options that people are presenting to you. But that to me is a curiosity, and I just don't know the answer.
I hope you're taking notes, Kaya. Are you taking notes?
Well,
It's
Yes,
being
I
recorded.
am.
she'll have the recording. Yeah,
It's being recorded.
yeah.
Well, one thing, Dr. Johnson, what you've just suggested is in these essays, we could do subheadings for ease of reading. And then in the essays that I've edited in the past, that's one possibility.
What was that again?
As the students write the essay, to actually use the subheadings before Lincoln, at Lincoln,
Okay.
after Lincoln, subheadings that help them to divide up the material that they're writing about.
And the other thing that is, we can either do here or at some other point, suggestions for future research. And so even if the students themselves don't follow up on some of these hints or possibilities, they would lay the groundwork for someone else who
Yes,
may be interested in that person or in that period or in that
right.
general area.
Well, that's exactly what we have been thinking, that these essays, some of them are, will require additional work. And whether the person wants to do it or not, or whether they want to co-author another student to pick up on it is a possibility.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone. I need to go because my niece is
Okay.
causing havoc downstairs. I'm sorry.
No, you've done
Okay.
a great job. Thanks so much.
And congratulations on your commencement
Thank
that's
you.
upcoming. And
Right.
we'll probably, some of us will probably see you. Do you know if the commencement's going to be broadcast?
To my knowledge, yes, they're doing a live,
good.
like a live stream.
What
Great.
time does it start, by the way?
Okay.
10:30 for the 2021 graduates
And
on
continue-
Sunday.
Continues success to you and to all the other seniors graduating.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Very
much.
proud of you guys.
Yes, we really.
Very proud of you.
bye-bye.
See you.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Okay, so who has survived this class? Deja, you're a survivor. I'm telling you, you really are a
Yes.
survivor.
Kaya Punter as well.
Kaya's a survivor. I've known that for a long time.
We're
Yeah.
calling her our baby. We shouldn't do that because I know older people don't like being called the baby.
Is that my raffle name?
It is your raffle name?
Raffle name.
Go get out.
I think everybody should have a raffle name. I think it's
Yeah. Well, I was kind of glad I didn't get one. I don't know if I could have lived with it.
You
but-
avoided it, huh?
Yeah, somehow I was blessed. Oh, Dwight, you didn't get any either,
No,
right?
I didn't get any either, but it'd be interesting to find out how people got these names, though. That's interesting,
I don't know if Rob wants to reveal his.
Oh,
Rob,
no, David already did, but you have to read his
But-
book.
well, they-
I mean,
well, what I remember about Rob, he used to wear hats, man. He was from Philly. He used to wear. He always had a hat on, a dress hat.
oh my goodness.
Yes.
Something, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me for some reason. I don't.
Oh man.
He's still
Oh,
wearing the hats.
He's from Philly. He was from
Yeah,
Philly.
you look at a couple of things. If you look at my yearbook picture, you see I got some kind of cap hat on there. And then David Clausen, and talking about different people, he had a description of me, along with my rabble name, which was except for the name, a good part of his description was accurate in terms of the rabble part of it. How I walked around campus with a toothpick and a certain hat, and being from North Philly and all that kind
You
of
got to
stuff.
tell him your name. What was
Well, Deputy Dog,
Oh, that's right, Deputy Dog.
Yeah,
That's right.
Deputy Dog, yeah. And he pointed out that I was walking around like I was from the hood, which I was, but I graduated number 2 in my class. And I was the top student in my last
He
2
was
years.
the deputy dog. He really
Yeah,
was.
last 2 years of Lincoln, I was
He
always
was
the
a
top
force to
student.
be dealt with.
I
Absolutely.
was the top student in the on the dean's list.
That's right.
So, but that surprised the hell out of everybody because I was also in the student center creating havoc,
Right.
and in the dorm, always up to something.
Right.
Always messing with people or doing something.
And he always had that innocent face.
Yeah, but then when they see the it was like cognitive dissonance because on the one hand, here's this person who running around campus, involved in a lot of crazy stuff, and on the other hand, who's at the top of the dean's list.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question
Pardon
here.
me, I would have to leave.
I have a question for Sister Outerbridge and Sister Punter. Do you know who Deputy Dog is? You know where it came from?
No.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. So we got to get the cartoon out. Deputy
Okay.
Dog.
And interesting thing is, I've never seen that cartoon. I have no idea
Really?
why that means anything about.
See if we can
I'll
find it.
Google it. I'm gonna Google it for you. Deputy Dog.
Is my face there?
Don't worry about it. I can do it myself.
Okay.
But at one point, they were fighting me.
Oh,
Oh, there's a baby.
Who's the baby?
My second
Oh.
grandbaby.
Oh, congratulations. I look like a new, look very young.
Newborn.
Yes, very new.
How old
Oh
is
my
he?
goodness.
How many days a
She was
week?
actually, she was born on, not really new. She was born.
Oh,
There's Deputy Dog.
Yeah.
The other one is, the other one is a Founder's Weekend birth baby, May 1st.
This your second grand?
It's my second one. The other one was born
Wow.
on May the 1st.
Fantastic.
Where are you?
Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
you're
Good.
So
so
anyway, I'm using my
Florida.
son's phone if it came up differently because I didn't want to miss the rest of the call.
But here's Deputy Dog. Can you see Deputy Dog?
Yeah, we
I
see
see
it.
Deputy Dog.
Deputy Dog, spelled
Oh, there he is.
DAWG,
Dog.
Deputy Dog.
Got the hats on too.
The hat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it. I get it.
Interesting enough, they call my roommate Bulldog.
Mm-mm-mm. I hope it wasn't the guy y'all was talking about earlier. One looked like a bulldog and y'all called him Bulldog, which was
No, that was no,
inhumane.
that was Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Oh yeah, that's real dog.
Godzilla.
How many people were in your class?
So Gil Scott Heron was Spider-Man. My mother even knew his name.
Yeah.
Spider. Because
Now,
I think I showed her a picture and she said, "Oh, that's Spider-Man."
now, the reason he had the name Spider-Man, do you want to know how he got the name Spider-Man?
Sure.
It's because,
Yeah, how did he get the name?
well, Gil was very lanky, he's a skinny, lanky guy. So one time they saw him playing basketball and he looked like a spider with his hands out playing basketball. So they named him Spider-Man. That's how he got the name. Because he was very lanky in his arms and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you,
How big were the classes back then? The class of 67, how many people were
they,
in?
not big.
We
No.
had about 100 something come in, Carol.
Yeah, less than 200.
Yeah.
And by the time we graduated, I think it was 135.
That included people from other classes and people returning
Yeah.
the like. Yeah.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of people in the first year.
First
and
year.
second
Woo.
year. Yeah.
That's class of
And
67.
they really didn't do a number of transfers then to fill up the class, which they do now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so cute.
Well, I think we-
Oh,
I guess I wanted to
what
ask
a head of
Deja,
hair.
Deja and Kaya. Is Kaya still here? Just want to ask them about the alumni speakers. But did you feel that most of you rated them very high when you did your survey? But I'm wondering, did they take time away from your research?
Deja,
We have Deja here.
Deja's on, yeah.
I don't feel like she took time away from my research, personally.
Okay. All right. And I think we did depend on your doing your research, after class time, and that you knew you paced yourself. And to me, that's the biggest hurdle. I have to pace myself doing whatever it is. I tend to wait until the last horn blows to really get in there and get it done, which is the worst way. But if you have a plan, over the 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or whatever number of weeks it is, I think it's manageable. You can get it done. But we also realize you have other classes.
So Deja, what did you learn about the process of doing research? Did you learn anything? How has your attitude toward research shifted or changed? What did you learn about doing research? And it's not a trick question either. I really want an honest answer.
Okay. It's hard doing research. Certain people don't want you to find certain things on them. So like, I remember when it came to Adrian, and Sister Carol can attest, she said like, she's a very private person. So there's really not much stuff out there on her. And I think part of that has to do with like her career, because she worked for IBM, which is like a software company. So at that point, I think it's kind of easy to scrub what you don't want to be found. And like with Thurgood, it was like finding what to actually hone in on, because he did a lot in his lifetime. So
Had you ever done anything like this before? Have you done?
Mhm.
research
I
before?
mean, yeah, I've done research because you figure like I've taken like research methods and different classes that
Mhm,
I've had to do research in. So yeah.
mhm.
How do you compare this class to those classes?
Oh, those were a little bit more I guess um fun kind of, because it was kind of like it was for one of my mass communication classes. So at the time they kind of made it so that it aligned with like the 21st century in a sense. So the way we had to do research with that was like say if it was a video, like analyze it and research like what made them choose what they chose and stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of like a little bit more interesting.
But that's not really research. You're looking and analyzing a video or
Because
something like that instead of getting out there and getting that material yourself. It's visual.
we did. So like that was like the build up of it, but then towards like the semester we had to work on our own project. So we all were given a topic that we had to really research and stuff, and like turned it in by a certain time, got the feedback, had to re-edit it, stuff like that. So
Uh,
yeah. But with that, it was like we didn't do interviews. It was just like the topic was like it wasn't on a person, it was like on a subject.
uh,
So
I have a question. Well, first of all, who did you do it on? And are you, before you came here, are you interested in learning about people's lives? Like, who did you do it on? That's the first. Who was it on? Who did you write about?
I don't think I like um we didn't do it on people. It was on a subject. So I
No,
think I had like
no,
mental health.
I meant this topic. Who did you do it on? With
Oh, I did Adrian Roan and Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall. And you, and what I'm trying to say is that you didn't find, I mean, be honest, you didn't find them interesting, or it didn't capture your attention, delving into their lives.
Um, I think a lot of information on Thurgood I kind of already knew in a
Right,
sense.
right.
And then like, well, attended Lincoln and he went there. So we watched Thurgood, which was like a movie about his life at that point. So there was that too. So I kind of already knew about Thurgood. Adrian, she was kind of interesting because I didn't know about her.
Mhm,
So yeah.
mhm. Okay, well, no, I was just wondering because you said that the other stuff was more exciting. Sometimes some people find it interesting learning about other people's lives, what they did, and they find it amazing. So I was just wondering what your feelings were on that. That's why I asked the question. Maybe she wasn't exciting enough for you. Huh? Maybe.
No, I mean, I think she was interesting. It was just like, it wasn't, it was just like work. It wasn't like
Mhm.
work and play. It was just like work. You know what I'm saying?
I
So it was
got
like, it wasn't like,
it wasn't fun.
yeah, that one. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, I got it.
So Deja, given what you've learned, would you recommend this class to anyone else, to other students?
If that's what they're into, yeah, I wouldn't just recommend it off the back, but if I know that they're interested in research, then yeah, I'll recommend it to them. I think it all depends on interest and what you're interested in, because if you're not really interested in the class, then you're not really going to
Yeah.
like the class, and you're going to find problems with it, especially in regards to research, because like as we just discussed, it's like a lot of work. So, and it's kind of tedious because it's a whole lot of back and forth.
So what
This
is
is Love Dorsey. This
number?
is Love Dorsey. I'm sorry.
I just want to know your major, Deja.
Mass communication.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. That's good.
Oh, so Deja, you are interested in research then,
To an extent, yeah.
to an extent. Well, you know what? I'm sure, and I know that with our mentee, it was a lot of work, but she learned so much about doing research, like even no matter, and I do a lot of reading and revisions of papers for scholars. It was really, really invigorating. It was a lot of work, but it showed you something even from a different perspective. And I guess even more so for me, because as an alum of Lincoln, it was someone who had also walked my path. And some of the times I've persevered over my journey, it's a natural instinct. And I think it's natural because of where I came from my undergrad years at Lincoln. And I have gone to other schools, but it was something about going through the treading of Lincoln University, at HBCU, that instilled something different in me. And so many times I was in situations where I was the only African American, and it did not bother me. And I always wondered, why didn't it bother me? Because I was sure of myself. So listening to the research and the pioneers that Taylor Shelton had done, I thought about them and I put myself in their position, and I could feel it, but I wasn't, it was a lot of work, that's all. And it still will be a lot of work next year. And I would really, consider doing it again.
The other thing I think is research, as Deja, as you're describing it in mass comm, sounds like a different kind of thing from what we've been doing. It's a different skill set.
And I know Deja and I had some early conversations, and if you probably will recount it maybe the same. And I sort of chided her for thinking things should be easy, because in life, some things are hard. But sometimes it's because they're hard, they're worthwhile, they're valuable, and you learn a lot from them. When I came to Lincoln in my freshman year, I was a top student in my high school. And I was surprised my freshman week when they said I needed remedial English. I went like, you've got to be kidding me. I edited all kinds of things at my high school. I won writing contest. I was insulted. But I said, okay, they think I need it. I'm going to go ahead and get in here. Well, it turned out it was one of the best things I ever did and they ever recommended, because it really wasn't an English class. It was a study skills class. And I had a lot to learn. And I'll never forget SQ4R. That's what it was. Mary Farrell taught it. Yep. Mrs. Rivero was in that class. And they really taught us how to think. And that studying was more than just opening the book and reading it and putting it down, which a lot of students do. I know you're not one of them. No. But how you have to really milk everything out of the text or whatever the subject is so that you can understand it, you can read it back, you can recite it, you know it in your psyche practically. I never worked that hard. It paid off the rest of my time at Lincoln. Now, I became an English major and I did a lot of writing. I think we all did. Lincoln, the blue books were hot, fast and furious. I mean, a lot of you, I think now you get multiple choice or, some other kinds of exams.
No, you actually do a blue book.
You do get blue books? Okay, good. Okay, great. So, and writing is just critical. After graduation, what do you do mostly? You speak and you write. You speak through your resume, you speak through your interviews, you're writing all of that. And the degree in which you master it will mean the world. But it's not easy. And remember, I told you, don't take the easy path. And I know I'm talking like a mother, probably not like a good professor talks. Don't look for that. If you go that way, it may not be the best route.
And I also want to say, Dave, that we really appreciate you because you are very direct and you've helped us to think through the course a lot. And
yes.
We appreciate that in you.
Yes.
No problem. And thanks for the advice, Miss Carol.
I know.
No, that was nurturing advice,
Thanks, but
Carol.
no thanks, as my children say.
No, it was nurturing advice. I agree with you, Deja. It was nurturing. I mean, yeah.
Don't shy away from the hard stuff. Mm-mm.
I can say amen. Because, you know, I thought about this just a day or two ago. And, you know, Lincoln was required a lot out of me. But after I left Lincoln, I went to France. And, and Susan's mother was responsible for that. And I was there with people from Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Bryn Mawr, and other places. And I found I could, you know, hold my own with those folks. I went to graduate school. I found I could hold my own with those folks and still have time to do a whole lot of other stuff in addition to, you know, maintaining, you know, graduate studies and degrees and doing, be out there organizing and doing a whole lot of other things. And it wasn't hard because of what I went through at Lincoln. And so, you know, like Carol said, you know, don't always look for the fun, easy stuff because that's not going to serve you well. And the other thing is that, you know, I give you credit for hanging in here while your other fellow students are, you know, doing other things, legitimate things. But you know, you're absorbing a lot of information from these old heads, these OGs. And that's going to serve you well, you know, 40, 50 years from now. You're going to say, well, I heard this story from, and back in the day, you know, back in the 60s and 70s, Lincoln was like this and people were like that. And, you know, we absorbed, you know, those of us who are here now as alumni, we absorbed a lot from those people who preceded us. You know, Thurgood Marshall and all those people were only, you know, a step or two away from us. I mean, indeed, they were on campus with us. And so we rubbed shoulders with them and many other notables and other, you know, regular, ordinary alumni. But we learned about, you know, greatness, excellence, you know, commitment to people and things of that sort. And so that has stood us all in good stead for decades to come. And you're here, you know, absorbing all of this. You know, you're a sponge, and you're going to pass it on. And you're never going to know when some of this information, or where some of these skills, or some of the other things that you encountered, either through this course or other courses, are going to come in handy. And you're going to say, "Thank goodness I was exposed to that," or "Thank goodness they made me do this," or "They made me do that," because you'll say, I can manage this. I can handle this."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
Professor
for hanging in
Johnson,
there with us.
I wasn't sure what you meant, like she was the only one here. I swiped my phone and you're right. She is the only one here. But Deja, you know what? When you come back for your reunions and people say something about E4, was it 13 or 15?
412.
She's going to say, hey, I was at the beginning of that class. I was at the foundation. I was a pioneer. That's exactly what you're going to be able to say. And when they look up books and they're looking through information, say, hey, look, and you'll see my name. I was in the beginning. So congratulations. This is your phone?
No, you have my phone.
Thank you.
Talk to Dad on it. I gave you the phone. Dad told me to call Dad. I gave you my phone.
Deja, are you a senior?
You don't ever.
Are you graduating, Deja?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know after graduation, are students able to retain their Lincoln email addresses, or does that get cut off?
So I think when they rolled out the new email system, they had said something about how they were going to formulate alumni email addresses, but they never said, I sent out a newsletter or anything saying that they actually got that done or whatever happened with that and what happens with these accounts once we're done.
Would be nice.
Yeah, we might want to send an email out to our class and ask them for follow-up email addresses, so that if we want to continue the work, or if they want to continue the work, or we want their input on any level, we will have that contact information.
Great for you to come back as a mentor.
Hey, there's a thought.
That is a thought. That
Mhm.
is a thought.
You
That's a
went-
thought.
You went through the fire, right?
A thought.
Yeah.
So Carol, I'm sorry, did you want us to stay on after Deja left? Because
No, I think we're, unless if you have something else to say, I think we're going to conclude at this point. I know you have other things to do, and you certainly got some cuddling to do over there.
yeah, but you know what, Deja? You got a chance to do something at Lincoln before leaving Lincoln. You got a chance to contribute something to Lincoln before leaving Lincoln.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can call you back to the next class, Deja, and ask you to speak about how they're supposed to approach this work.
Oh yeah, that would be a real good pep talk.
That would be
That
really,
would be a really good pep talk.
right.
You're right, Buttons. You
One
think
of the first
you can
students.
come back and just give them a pep talk to give them some insight?
Yep.
Deja,
Sure. Why not?
thank you. Give it
And
back
Deja,
to the school.
Yeah, Sister Outerbridge, Sister Outerbridge,
Mhm. Yes.
forgive me for all the red ink. Just hold on to it. Every time you need to look at something, look at it and say, I'm beyond this.
I'm sure she's going to bury that.
no,
And-
you need to save that document. That
Yeah.
goes in the archives, that red ink. That's
Yeah,
very,
and we had many good conversations.
We did. We did.
So mentors, thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch with you before the end of the semester. We're just going to be working through the papers and grades, and we might want to get in touch with you for your feedback.
Do that.
Carol, do you have anything else you want? Yeah, okay.
No, I'm just very thankful that everybody hung in, did a great job.
Mhm.
As I said in the reviews, you saw the reviews, students gave mentors high praise, which was fantastic. Oh, there's the other little one.
You got a beautiful family there.
Yeah, beautiful.
And join the Alumni Association. They need young
Yes.
blood. Join the association.
Oh, definitely. Thanks, Bill, for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you join that?
Just join.
You know,
Just-
Pay some dues.
You
Pay
can go
some
to,
dues. And
Actually, Deja, your first year is paid for you.
yeah, you're
free.
free the
So
first
you
year.
got to see
That's right.
what city you're in. Where do you live?
Philadelphia.
Okay, you'll be a part of the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter. When we meet in person, we'll be at 30th and 31st and Market at the Lincoln building. I'll gladly, make sure I get your email from Carol just to send you just updated information. We have quite a few people that come on after graduation. It's not so easy for them, but since they hung around, now they are seniors. They have people under their belt. So you're naturally a part of the Alumni Association, but every year you have to pay a dues of $35 because
$35.
25 will go to the house, which would be the Philadelphia chapter, and the 10 will go to the national.
And then
Actually,
how
also
do you
having a
become a
national-
lifetime
Yeah.
member? Because I know like
honey,
Amy Room was a lifetime
Let me
member.
tell you what I would
Yeah.
do. I told everyone I recommend to get on a schedule to start paying on your lifetime membership. It is worth it to do now. If I had done it when I was your age, I would have saved several $100s.
Well, actually, now $35 goes to national. That's how you become a member of national. $25 to the chapter. You don't pay the $35. You don't vote, if I must say so myself. Philadelphia is the largest chapter, as far as I know, though DC Metro is trying to compete with them. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but we just ended up on our membership.
that's great. I love it.
So
Yeah.
so
Again,
Deja,
yeah.
you can come to Philadelphia and but if I was you, I would look into, oh, wait a minute, I'm on the membership committee for that chapter. That Alumni Association.
Yeah.
So you remember my last name. And if I were you, I will follow up with some information to send you to start paying on the national. You want to do it now while it's going to look like a lot, but it's going to be worth it years from now.
And
Okay.
even I get to be a member of the National AALU because we revised the Constitution for associate members who don't have any power or any clout, but we can hang in there and support the National
Yeah.
AALU and give some money if you got a little bit of money, as long as they're acting right. Okay.
And our new presidents, right, Carol, for national, just the election was when?
On the first.
Last week. Wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah, they were due by the 1st.
May
So
1st.
they just began their office for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
God, time sure flies. I'm
Mhm.
telling you. So
Like
anyway, yeah,
graduation, somebody gets up and inducts all the graduating class. So you get inducted at graduation.
Yeah.
mhm.
You have to take a pledge too. But that makes you part of the alumni association.
Yeah, it's automatic.
Mhm.
Okay.
But then you have to get active in active in the different local groups to take full advantage of your class.
Yeah.
Or yeah, yeah. Or you can sit and observe for a year and then decide, hey, I want to help this committee, that committee, or the other committee, and learn it. But
And
there'll
there's
be
a
people
young
in there that may
alumni,
help you.
there's a young
There's a young
alumni
alumni association, sure
association
is.
as well.
Now, for mentors, for your interest, I am trying to recruit students for the class. I have been putting word out to some of our more advanced students. Just want you to know, so we're
That'll be good.
cadre so that we can start the semester at the beginning as opposed to within the first few weeks.
Yeah.
Of course, it always takes a few weeks to get off the ground, but we'll be in touch about how that it develops.
Okay. Well, you'll be in touch with me. So I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna let you go. Deja, I'll get your number from Professor Carol and Dr. Button, and I mean your email, and I will try to get you some information.
Okay, and let me just say
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Aja, and all the other folks, Carol and Dr.
Everybody,
Butler,
thank you.
for organizing this. It's been a real pleasure for me. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed myself. It's uplifted me a great deal during this period. And to reconnect with old friends, schoolmates, and classmates, and then and the Lincoln family, you know, beyond, I mean, because the Lincoln family is broader than just the people in our class, you know, the Guns and our professors, and we're honoring some of the heroes and sheroes of our period coming up. And so all of those connections have been very meaningful, very rewarding, very fulfilling. And this is, you know, I'm working with some other universities on projects, and this is the most fulfilling one at this point. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be involved with this group, and I appreciate each and every one of you and all of your contributions. So
Hey,
thank
Dr. Buttons, we're your first leg, aren't we, for this class?
You sure are, but you know, all of the glory goes to Carol. All the glory
Well,
goes to Carol.
well, yes,
Wait till I run to that emeritus woman again.
yes. Yes, my compliments to Carol and you, Dr. Button. Thank you. That's all.
And
I love to all of you because you could have said no and you
Yes.
didn't. And your contributions are absolutely incredible and invaluable. I've read your comments to the students. Amazing. They probably have no idea the kind of people that you are and the expertise that you have. You didn't have
You
to
brought
do
it out in us, Carol. You brought it out in us. I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah. And I will say, this is a positive statement, like good papers are rewritten, etc. We'll take hopefully a very strong, a much closer look at the syllabus so that everything is very clear,
Oh,
what the
yeah.
expectations of mentors
Mhm.
are and the timetables. But this was the first successful dry run. It is good. I'm not saying past tense because it's not dead. It's good, and it'll be better. And we should look at it, and because again, you have to keep dusting off stuff, and you make it better.
Definitely. Definitely.
And
Thanks.
Dr. Buttons, if you want to run anything by me while I'm still in this business, I like the fact that our participants started showing their face, but if you want to run anything by me before you start letting them know in the syllabus, your participation full and front and person makes a difference.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll run by you,
You
Sister.
are the honorary spokesperson. for
I'll
this.
run right by you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll put you down as the voice of
Sergeant of Arms, the
Sergeant of
militant,
Arms, right?
the Lincoln militant.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, and I will be in touch.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Dr.
see
Button.
you.
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Wait a minute, I have
everybody.
some writing to do, so I guess I will be in touch. I have some writing to do.
Yes. Okay.
All right,
Love to
everyone.
mark for
Quick
us. Yes.
question, right? When do y'all want the the essay, because I know like me and Doc, Mr. Wiggins had talked about me putting, you know, sources in there and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
when would y'all want it by at this point?
Let me put it this way, Deja. We don't want people freaking out at the end of the semester because this is happening a lot. But it would be nice for you if you could finish it by the end of the semester. And the grades are due on Monday. If you are able to make an investment, today's only Tuesday, I think that you can do a good job with your essay with some more sources before the grades are submitted. So what do you think is realistic? What can you tell us? What can you give us a date? I want to hear if it's possible to do the work that you need to be done by, like, say, Saturday night at midnight. Is that possible?
Yeah, because Mr. Wiggins sent me some sources, and I'll look at the ones Adrian email, and I'll try and implement them.
Mm-hmm. And then you can write your little introduction. You could write an introduction to your paper, which clarifies what's you and what is the interview. And if you want to talk more about it, we can talk anytime. I'm here for the duration. But I think whatever you do needs to be done by midnight on Saturday.
Okay.
And the other thing I'd like to say is, do you know Abigail?
No.
Okay. Because you're reacting with a little bit more stamina than she did. So I have to go encourage her. She kind of freaked out at the idea of writing an introduction to her essay, but you seem to be swallowing that fairly successfully, and I'm proud of you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Now, what do you mean by introduction? Like,
you
said something about like separating what I wrote from what she wrote, but she didn't write anything. So, you know, what do you mean by introduction?
So what you do in the introduction is you give the you give the background for why you did this essay and the circumstances under which you interviewed her and the date of it, and the major points about your essay, what the main things are that you want to capture to capture your reader's interest. So just set the circumstance. This essay is based on an interview with Adrian Rohn on this date within the context of this class for the purpose of discovering these things about Lincoln alums. I learned these things about her, and then boom, in you go. Set the context.
Okay.
Does that sound clear to everybody? Mm-hmm. I want to be sure it's clear.
And you're going to have the video to come back and review, because there was a lot more suggestions.
Okay.
If you
Take
need.
a shot at it, Deja. I'll read it, give you feedback. We're cool.
One
Okay.
other question, Sister Buttons. One other question.
One button, please.
The summary of the speakers.
Yes.
I have to look at the syllabus again. And that could have been clearer, but again, I perhaps should have been more attentive. Have they been turned in? Are you waiting for those summaries?
I've been going through them. Some of them have turned them all in, some of them haven't. The Canvas submissions were available, and so that's part of their grade. Kaya, for example, did them all and they were fabulous.
So the drop deadline is midnight Saturday?
No, I mean, I would like to, I don't remember what I think the 7th, we put May the 7th on. They should be done by now.
And they should have been
Oh,
finished.
so for the
That's what I was
speaker summaries, you said that the speaker summaries we had until the end of the semester to turn them in. You said that in class one time.
Yeah, the end of the semester. I mean, this is a slippery slope. Obviously, people didn't turn them in. If you do the summaries and they're in by midnight on Saturday, that's fine. We're just going to acknowledge that you've done them. You're not going to get the feedback that you would ordinarily. But I think that everybody should do the work. And if you haven't done the work by the 7th of May, which was when we said that's when classes are over. Classes are over on the 7th. This is exam week. whatever comes in after classes are over, I mean, they're late, it's late. And it's up to the professor to say whether they're going to read it or not. And my answer is, I won't read it very thoroughly, but I will acknowledge the fact that you've submitted it.
On the joking side, I will never give you all feedback. That's what the cows give you after ruminating. I'll give you responses. I know, I'm different. What can I say? I'm an outlier. But the cows give you the feedback. I'm not going to do that. I'm just trying to be jovial, not offensive.
Well, it's not
Yes.
funny at this point, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of work to go through everybody's submissions. And when the deadline gets slippery,
Yeah.
it's a matter of how much charity you have left in your soul. And it's
That's right. Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
So
And thank you for everything. And I know I got a lot out of it. Hope to get some more out of it. And as Sister Black knows, we're trying to get this history together. It's not the easiest thing at all, but I think we're a very amicable group. And I learned a lot about some things, and we'll move forward. And thanks again. Love everyone, brothers and sisters. Take care.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Good way in.
All right. Take
Yeah.
care.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.